nothing but illustrious guests on the Deezer Mero Show, as you already know. Today we have the former Georgia House Minority Leader, Stacey Abrams.
Coming to the table. Give it up for Stacey Abrams, y'all. Woo! Hey!
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming through.
You know what I'm saying? We gave you a clear glass of water.
That's just water, not vodka.
Water,
Thank
not
you.
rum or beer, so that you
Respectful.
don't want to taint your image.
I am Southern, so thank you.
go.
We hide these things.
Everyone's asking what you're gonna do next.
Yes.
Are you ready to announce that? Tell us.
Absolutely not.
What? You said you were gonna say in April, right?
April has 30 days. I got time.
Ooh, hold that.
Right. Made that mistake. All right.
I appreciate the effort, though.
All right. Well, come on, it's the show. You can't give us a hint, like a little.
I'm going to run for something
You wanna run for something?
at some point
Okay.
in the future as a candidate
Can you narrow it down just a little bit?
in the United States.
Okay.
Good enough.
Is there anything like, maybe that you would be the 46th in line for or something like that?
I am giving that careful consideration. I could be one of 100, or I could be, wait a few years, try governor again. Have to just think it through it all.
Speaking of governor, you ran for governor against Brian Kemp, and you were the first ever black female nominee for this role?
In the United States,
In
yes.
the United States.
For a major party.
So Brian Kemp, phenomenal basketball player. I don't know what his policies are politically.
Okay.
What was it like being the first? Sorry.
So Mr. Kemp was the Secretary of State. It was like running against a cartoon villain.
Okay.
He was the contestant. He was the referee. He was the scorekeeper. He purged 1.5 million voters. He oversaw the shutdown of 214 precincts. He made certain that 53,000 people, 90% were people of color, were not allowed to register to vote. He held them hostage. And shockingly, he won.
Wow. You don't
I know.
say.
I don't see how those things
That's
possibly.
wild.
You know what? God don't like ugly. And then he was like, yo, here's an inch of snow. We're going to destroy Atlanta for an entire month.
That's not funny because it gets a little wild in Atlanta when it snows.
When there's a theory of snow, it gets wild.
What's that about?
We're from the South. We do not understand snow.
Okay, but it's like it's an inch of snow and cars catch on fire.
That's what I was like, how does... Snow is water,
Yes.
but the cars are catching
You
on
haven't
fire.
seen us in the rain. So.
I have.
Yeah. We are used to a fairly even-keeled traffic pattern that means you don't move. When you introduce any additional element, especially something cold and wet, we get freaked out.
Right.
And, we drive over patches of air and run into other cars. It happens.
Listen,
Look.
it be happening. It be happening.
We can't all be New York.
Hey, look, that's very true. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm a little happy about it. I like Georgia.
Yeah.
Georgia's cool. Georgia.
We have to have things that distinguish us.
Yeah. You can't have a whole country full of New Yorkers. It's a bit much.
Yeah, I mean...
We've let you try to run the country the last 2.5 years.
That's true.
Really
We apologize. We apologize.
Listen, we don't claim that guy. We don't claim
She's
that
right,
guy.
though. She's right, though.
We don't claim that dude.
He's in the White House getting fish fillets.
We don't claim that dude.
He's watching the
Yeah,
Yankees.
you know what I'm saying?
That's a New York guy through and through.
Yeah. I think he's a front runner, though. Like, if the Mets win the World Series, he will become a Mets fan. I guarantee it.
I don't think so. You know what? Because I'm a Yankee fan, and Yankee fans are jerks, and, he fits in with us, so we out there.
Yeah.
So you're big on voter reform.
I am.
After what happened to you in your campaign, not your campaign, but in your election, what needs to change going forward as far as just the voting process?
So, writ large, voting rights has always been a challenge in America. Voter suppression is built into our DNA. From the inception of our country, we decided who was eligible to be a citizen and whose voices would be heard. And it's taken us hundreds of years to try to get it right. In the last 20 years, as more people who were of color or from communities who were normally not recognized, as they started to grow in power, we saw voter suppression take firm hold. And in 2013, the Supreme Court eviscerated the Voting Rights Act, which meant that anyone who was a bad actor could do whatever they wanted. Georgia was one of the states where Secretary of State Kemp perfected voter suppression. But it happens everywhere.
Right.
And New York has really, I think, started to turn the tide on how they've actually been participants. But the reality is our voices have to be heard for democracy to work. And we have to have automatic voter registration. We have to have same-day registration. People need to be able to participate. In Georgia, we're just trying to get them to count the votes that get cast.
Right.
So we're going with basics here. But writ large, my responsibility, and I created an organization called Fair Fight Action to fight for voter reform, because if we do not save our democracy, the rest of this is irrelevant. If you want more people to speak up, if you want health care, if you want to save the environment, if you want jobs that actually pay a living wage, you have to be able to vote. And voter suppression tells people that they don't matter and they need to be quiet.
How do you feel about this new crop of Congress people that are coming in, the young blood that's being infused into?
I think it's fantastic. I've been friends with Ayanna Pressley for years. I think AOC is doing amazing work. I think that we're seeing folks from around the country who not only represent youth, but represent a boldness to say these are not things we should have to just concede and take for granted. When I did my non-concession speech, I got a lot of flack because you're supposed to, as a politician, you're supposed to politely say it's okay that you cheated or it's okay that you broke the system. I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm like,
he was like, nah, I'm off that.
No, I won't, because I mean, the reality is when
I'll throw a
you say,
motherfucker right behind me.
All right, this clip's not going on MSNBC now.
You know what I'm saying? I said it for you. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to say it. You know what I mean?
I appreciate the emphasis. Thank you. But look, the reality is for our people, and that means anyone from the outside, anyone who's marginalized, any person of color, we can't say go and vote. We can't say speak up if we know the system is arraigned against you. And you need people who've experienced that. And what's so important about this new crop of legislators is that they represent those marginalized communities that have been kept out of power for centuries. Their presence forces the rest of us to have better conversations. My refusal to concede is the reason we have to talk about voter suppression, because when you concede, you're basically saying the whole thing was fine.
Right.
And we wouldn't do that in sports. We get mad when the call just seems kind of wrong. And you know, I won't talk about New York baseball because that would just be rude. But
But you don't want to talk about the Atlanta Super Bowl.
oh, I know what we did.
Ladies and gentlemen, Stacey Abrams.
Touche. Look, we've tried to forget that, okay? But and that's the thing. We have to have people who are willing to fight back. But you cannot fight a fight that you refuse to acknowledge exists. And that's our responsibility.
True.
What are your views on the Electoral College?
We need to get rid of it. It's
The shit out of here.
yeah.
It's out of here. It's canceled.
Go to college, not the Electoral College.
There you go.
That's a dope. See? Just out here making slogans.
I
You know
apologize.
what I'm saying?
It's okay.
Also,
Yes.
little known fact, you are a romance writer. You
I
write
am.
Romance novels. Are they more like romantic or are they more like 50 Shades of Grey?
Or they like hood classics, like,
Like
yo,
Zayn,
like, yo,
like,
I
yo.
married my baby's father.
I write romantic suspense. I kill a lot of people, and whoever survives falls in love.
Ooh.
Oh, that's dope.
So like kind of Game of Thrones-ish, or like?
Not with. I don't have a lot of incest. I don't have any incest.
Oh, you just want to make it clear,
Yeah, just
none?
to be clear.
No incest.
Damn, you just lost some views.
None.
But I did write a serial killer romance novel.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
That sounds
I mean, you,
incongruent, but interesting.
Thank you.
you,
That's going to be my tagline. Incongruent but interesting.
you should write a romance novel about two guys from the Bronx, you know. Take it from there.
You really want me to?
Nah. Listen,
I mean,
anything-
look, you could, you
Check's a
guys,
check.
you could be fighting over the same person. One of you will die. Just you have to decide who. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kill a lot of people in my books.
Damn.
I have a lot of
Is
aggression.
it cathartic?
Oh, it is. In my very first book, my ex-boyfriend, and it was his dissertation that I premised the book on. He's in prison in the book and will be there for the rest of his natural life.
Wow.
You
Did
mad?
you give him a copy of it? Like,
Oh yeah, I read his dissertation. I was like, this is interesting. I told him I was like, I should write a book based on this. And he was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, this is why we broke up. You have no imagination.
Damn.
And then he mocked it, and so I made him the villain and put him in prison.
how you get flamed by a book? Wow. Now, I know you're a candidate. I know you said you come on the show, you don't want to do anything to ruin any possibility of being, in a political office. But I got a hard-hitting question.
Yes.
Sweet or salt grits?
See, that's a false narrative.
Wow. See?
Explain to
There
me.
you go.
I am just a simple
She
Yankee.
flipped
I
it
know
on
Yes.
nothing.
Okay. The appropriate grit ratio You have salt in your grits because that's how you make them tasty. You add sugar because sugar enhances the salt. But the most important thing is the cream and the cheese.
Ooh. You just you saying that, man.
Cream and cheese, my stomach goes like, yo,
Yo,
chill,
chill.
stop. We
It's
talking about
not-
oat milk?
No, it's not enough cream that it's going to.
Just open the lactate like, ah.
It is worth the pain. But
I'm doing a line of lactate like,
yeah.
I used to feel like that.
It is an insufficient amount of cream to disturb your innards, but it is a sufficient amount of cream to make the cheese melt properly, so that when you layer on the butter, it all goes down smooth. Those are great.
Somewhere Michelle Obama's like, that's not right. Y'all not eating healthy. Now you've had just a wild the last couple of years.
Yeah.
What's your self-care routine? Like, how do you de-stress? Because you're over here like battling Brian Kemp. They're like dragging you on Fox News and stuff. Like,
They don't like me, but it's okay.
well, they don't like us.
They don't like anybody.
Yeah.
I wonder why they don't like us.
I wonder whites, they don't like us.
Look, I watch a lot of television. I love TV, especially science fiction. I read a lot. I'm the daughter of a librarian.
Shout out to libraries.
And I have. I'm the second of 6 kids. My siblings, we all created a book club. Actually, we did it to support my youngest brother, who has been in and out of trouble and been out of prison, actually. And so we created this book club when he got out the first time, just to kind of help stabilize him, and it just became part of our ritual. And so I've got an extraordinary family. They take good care of me, unless they're mocking me, in which case I don't like them that much. But
That's family shit, though. That's family shit.
that exactly.
My sister be roasting me all the time.
yes.
She's like, oh, you think you're cute on TV with your big ass head? Yeah, take your hat off on TV. I dare you. I'm like, wow. Thanks,
it's true.
Ingrid.
It's true, though.
Appreciate you.
Your memoir, your advice book, Lead from the Outside. What do you want people's biggest takeaway to be from that? 1,
you should dare to want more. Your ambition should be big. But 2, you've got to write it down. You've got to plan for it. If you don't plan for it, it's not an ambition, it's a wish. We are often told to dream, but people don't tell us how to make those dreams real. And the whole book is about how you take your dreams from idea to action.
Okay.
Execution, y'all.
Last question. Favorite Atlanta rapper?
I am not answering that.
Smart one right here. Smart one right here.
You want to
They
get in
all
trouble?
vote. So, no.
Now,
Yes.
I know in Atlanta you guys don't have bodegas. You got
Kroger's?
gas stations?
Kroger's?
We have both of them. We are very advanced these days.
Actually, we clearly have never left New York.
Yeah.
But in the bodegas, there's a neon sign that usually
Yes.
says like what the meal for the day is. You can't get any credit. This person shoplifted.
Yeah.
What would you like your neon sign to say?
Voter suppression is real, and lead from the outside.
You know what I'm saying?
Yo, give it up for Stacey Abrams.
Third eye.
So get her book, Lead from the Outside, and get smart. Learn something, dummies. Stacey Abrams in the house.
Woo. Also, cop the romance novels. They're fire.
That's right. And check her out on the A-Town Stomp remix.